Hello friends, hope you're well. In this video I want to talk about some really profitable niches that you probably haven't thought about when starting your home healthcare business. What I like to do is I like to do a lot of research. I like to consume so much information, and then I like to make order of that information because there's a lot of chaos. What seems like a lot of chaos and a lot of information to a lot of people, to me it's like a puzzle that needs to be solved. That's how my brain works. I need to know how to connect the dots when I get access to information, especially information that will impact my life, my finances, and my family. I've been doing my rounds because I'm doing some shopping before I travel, so I'm looking for like some cool stuff, some really quality stuff that I can purchase, because the thing about the United States, what's so great about it is like there's a lot of quality products here, electronics, shoes, stuff like that. I purchase a lot of these luxury items and quality items here in the United States because when I travel I don't get access to these things. So I've been to all my favorite malls. Lenox Mall I don't really go to because Lenox Mall to me is just like, it's overwhelming. So I like going to places like Perimeter Mall. I like to go to Mall of Georgia up in Beaufort. I like to go to Sugarloaf Mills Mall over there in Lawrenceville. Those are my three favorite places to kind of get a good sense of what's going on in Atlanta, because whatever happens in those three areas, in those three malls, is pretty much the same story at all the other malls, with the exception of like Phipps Plaza. I don't go to Phipps because a lot of the stuff that they have is, to me, it's just overpriced, and I can get the same quality of stuff online. Plus the parking, it's a headache. I don't like dealing with headaches, you know what I'm saying? I'm too old for headaches. So as I'm going to these different places, I'm noticing a peculiar group of individuals. These are guys in their 50s there, driving fancy luxury cars, dressing really fancy. And you can always tell when you look at somebody that this is not a cheap outfit. Like you can almost like, this costs you like at least $1,000. And these are not celebrities, by the way. These guys that I'm noticing, that I'm observing, they're not celebrities. You guys don't know these guys. These are just random guys that are probably doing something big in their industry. So it could be some guy in construction. They've been doing construction for the last 20 years. It could be some guy who's an engineer. He's been an engineer for the last 20 years. It could be some guy who's running his own plumbing business and he's been doing that for the last 20 years. It could be a guy that has his own little small business and he's been on the grind for the last 20 years and he's coming up now. Nobody really understands how they operate except for me. But I do understand how they operate because I'm a man, and the way they think is very similar to how I think. The thing about the United States culture and society is that it's completely ignored the needs of men and what men value. It's really like ignored that for so many years. And anytime a guy wants to express himself or explain what he's thinking or how he's feeling, screw you, we don't want to listen to you. Who are you? You're dumb. You're a dummy. So a lot of these guys just shut up for years. They shut up. What do? They lived a life of seclusion for a long time. A lot of these guys, especially men, we're not very social. We're not good at vocalizing or expressing ourselves verbally. It's like a handicap. You'll find like the most genius guy, the most brilliant engineers, the most brilliant guys, they can barely talk. If you try to talk to a nerd, it's frustrating. But that guy could build an entire freaking system from scratch that thousands of millions of people rely on. He can build that, but he can barely talk. Look at all the nerds. Think about the Mark Zuckerbergs. Mark Zuckerberg is actually at the top of the food chain when it comes to being able to express himself. But think about all the guys on the back end of Facebook, Instagram, all the engineers. They're laughed at. Like most people would be like, this guy's probably got autism or whatever. But the guy is completely normal. That's because people don't understand how men function. These guys have been operating under the radar for so many years. Some got married, some got divorced, and then some decided, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother getting married. This is why you're seeing, if you go to places like TikTok, a lot of ladies are complaining that these guys out here are sassy as hell. And I don't believe them. until I bumped into the sassy guys. And they're incredibly sassy. Oh boy. The reason why they're sassy now is because they've become the bad bitches. They're the baddies now. And they have a lot of money. The difference between men and women. You see, I'm a married guy, so I know exactly what the difference is because I live with women. I'm surrounded by women, and women are incredibly expensive to maintain. But for men, we don't need very much to survive. I make more money than I've ever made in my life, but I live so cheap. I realized at an early age that all this material stuff doesn't make me happy. Purchasing a brand new like 2025 car, that thing is a headache. I'm gonna have to figure out how to maintain that thing. I gotta take it for oil change and service, pay insurance for that thing. And if it brings too much attention, I don't need that thing. I don't need it. So I'm gonna stick with my 10-year-old whip. Eventually I'm gonna sell that whip because the cost of used cars has gone up. So I'm gonna cash in the 10-year-old car that I have so I can invest that money. This is how men behave. This is how men think. So let's talk about the guys that have been in marriages and they got divorced. Those guys, they'll never get back into relationships. And then you have a whole bunch of guys that have been on the grind for so many years that have never been in relationships. They don't want to be bothered to be in relationships. What do you think they're spending their money on? If these guys are living as cheap as I am and they're making all this money, just picture like a guy who's in corporate that makes, let's say, $150K a year, and he rents out a room for like $1,000. He's driving a used car for like $5,000. Where do you think the rest of his check is going? The rest of his check is going to investing for his future. These guys are buying things like cryptocurrency. You find a guy like my age, you'll like buy a lot of crypto. You probably spend 90% of his check or 80% of his check into buying cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. And he's just stacking, If you're living that cheap, you can easily amass a little fortune in as little as 5 years. It's very easy. I know guys that can afford to buy a new house cash. And these are just the average blue collar guys. Maybe he's been working construction for a while. He's been a roofer for the last 20 years, 15 years. And roofers make good money too. Oh, wait. And these guys, like, they work so hard. They're always on the grind. They get injuries. These are difficult jobs. Some of these jobs, they're really dangerous. Think about those guys that maintain the subways. Anytime something is broken in the system or on the train, they're called. The city literally has to call that guy. Anytime the subway is broken, there's that guy they call. And that guy knows what he's worth, because he knows that he's the most competent guy. Nobody else is as competent as he is. So over time, these guys who work these like blue collar jobs that are disrespected, those guys getting rich now. And those jobs are so dangerous that they are at risk of injuries. They have needs when it comes to care. So let's say this guy who's been on his grind for the last 20 years, he got an injury and he needs to be on bed rest for a couple of weeks while he's recovering. This guy doesn't compromise on his quality of life. He's not just gonna opt in to deal with some regular home care agency or home care giver. No, his peace of mind, his energy is sacred. He cannot afford to have somebody come into his space that has got bad energy. He can't have that. Especially if this guy's been through a divorce. Oh my God. These guys are very, very sensitive. And you gotta approach them correctly because they're very, very sensitive and they get triggered hard. Just because we don't express our emotions as men does not mean we don't have emotion. Men are very, very sensitive and very emotional. We just don't know how to express it. It's the ladies that know how to express it, but men don't. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is this is a very profitable niche that nobody is paying attention to. But if you pay attention to it, I promise you will make good money. I'm not talking about you're going to become a millionaire. See, that's the problem with a lot of people that I talk to. It's like they're focused on, talk to this guy talking about, oh, so-and-so's making 3 million. Dude, you're focused on the wrong thing. Why are you focused on 3 million when 30,000 a month is good enough? $300,000 a year is good money, especially if you don't have all these unnecessary expenses. Us men, we prefer to live a simple life of luxury and comfort. Like right now, the way I live is very cheap and I'm very comfortable. Where I splurge is I splurge on high-end stuff. Like if I have to go to a nice dinner, I'm going to the fanciest steakhouse to treat myself. simple life of luxury and comfort. When I had to purchase things like shoes, bags, phones, I go for the most expensive stuff. I go for the best. I tend to keep it for a very long time. We are more logical in the way we make purchasing decisions. So the way I look at it is I'd rather purchase something that is, let's say, $200 if there's a $20 option, and then keep that $200 option for like 5-6 years versus the $20 option that will get ruined after a couple of months. For example, I stopped shopping at H&M. I stopped because here's why. Because when I was younger, I used to shop at Zara and H&M. And the problem is, I'll throw it in the wash, and then within a couple of months, it looks like garbage. I was like, man, now I'm looking dusty out here. So instead, what I do is I purchase like really expensive shirts now. And then I send those shirts to dry cleaning. And I keep that shirt for years. That's how we logically think as men. So when you understand that, you'll be able to cater better to this demographic, because this demographic has a lot of money and they don't compromise on their quality of life. So when they're down and out and they need a caregiver, the last thing they want is somebody with bad energy around them, like I said. So if you're the type of agency, if you're the type of caregiver that brings good energy, that knows how to do good work, that is respectful, if you tell them, hey, listen, my fee's $20,000, they're paying it. I promise you they're paying it. The reason why they're paying you 20 grand is because your competition is not going to treat them the way you are. So it comes down to how you treat them. Are you respectful? Do you cater to their needs? Simple things such as cooking. If you're a home care agency that caters to this particular demographic, and a lot of these guys live by themselves, so what they tend to do is they go to eat out all the time. But think about somebody who's bedridden in their own house. Sometimes they get tired of ordering Uber Eats all the time. What they might like is a home cooked meal. So offer that as a value add, and I promise you your competition is not going to offer that. Because a lot of these caregivers out here, they don't even know how to cook for themselves. Let's say you are Turkish, right? Just picking Turkish, or Ethiopian. Because I like Turkish food, I like Ethiopian food, and I like Mexican food. Let's say you're one of those three people. You fit those three categories. And you know how to cook the most incredible Mexican dish. And you know how to cook the most incredible Turkish dish. And you know how to cook the most incredible Ethiopian dish. That's your selling point. That's what's gonna make you unique. You're gonna come in and say, listen, we are the best because we cook for our patients. And the way we cook with fresh organic ingredients to make sure they're comfortable and they recover fast from whatever condition they're in. Oh, oof. I'm already getting excited for you. I'm gonna have to start charging for this information, guys. I'm gonna have to start charging. But listen, I got more game for you guys, okay? If you're interested in working with the best. This means I can help you come up with the perfect niche of who you should be going after. Like these guys that I'm talking about that are starting to make good money. And you're still stuck. I can help you get unstuck. And you need to understand how to approach these guys. Because these guys are not easy to approach. These sassy guys. And the type of messaging that you need to start running in your commercials needs to cater to them, so that as soon as they see it, they're like, oh my goodness, this is the agencies that I need. You guys know Cooking with Kaya? Do you know why it triggered a lot of people? Cooking with Kaya, Cooking with Kaya. Do you know why it blew up so much? Because Kaya knows what these sassy guys like. Kaya is the genius marketer, guys. By the way, I showed Cooking with Kaya to my wife, and she started laughing because she was like, this girl gets it. I'm like, yeah. She was laughing at the people that were triggered by Cooking with Kaya. You have to understand your audience. What I want you to do now is I want you to schedule a call with me so we can go into detail about how you're going to sell to these guys, how you're going to approach them, how you're going to convince them that they should be doing business with you. Schedule time. I'll put a link in the description of this video. I'll talk to you soon.